My guest for the morning is Edem Agbana, the parliamentary candidate for Ketu North. How are you?
Roland, I'm fine. How are you too?
I'm well. I see that you have a football team in your constituency. How's it shaping up?
Yes, well, let me say good morning to you and to our cherished viewers, especially to the good people of Ketu North. Last week was a very hectic week for us. We started by sharing mathematical sets to all the BEC candidates.
You also did that?
In my constituency, yes. And I went around inspiring them. Also, on Friday and Saturday, we had the privilege of receiving former Black Star players, Emmanuel Ajiman-Bedu and Lai Kingston, who helped us in scouting.
They were in your constituency?
Yeah, they were in my constituency. That's for 2 days. And we scouted some quality players. As I speak to you this morning, some of the players they discovered over the weekend are here in Accra to have trials with some teams here in Accra. So it was a very good opportunity for us to showcase our talent. And it's also an opportunity for us to officially start the Nukunu Sports Academy, a club that I co-own with some others in the constituency. It's basically going to be a conveyor belt for talents from the constituency to higher heights. So, Roland, I am very hopeful that not in the not too distant future, you would have players from Ketu North playing for the Black Stars and the Arsenals and Manchester United and all of that. So I'm very happy about that project.
Well, I'm talking about football. Perhaps maybe you can speak to Robert Coleman.
Let me say,
let me show you the chief executive for the Wembley Sports Construction Company Limited. He's the king of AstroTurf. One constituency, one AstroTurf. He was inaugurating a number of the AstroTurfs in the communities, and I want to show you a couple of them. Oliver, if we have them, just put them there. Let me just acknowledge Robert Coleman before Edem Agbana, who is having his team also comes in. And as you do that, please, we're grateful that you've joined us. So, Robert Coleman, good morning to you, and thank you for doing some great work. Johnny Hughes says I should ask you whether you're going to have a new baby soon. I didn't say Johnny Hughes. Money, new money. Akasokre Joseph, thank you for joining us. Newton King Chereke, good morning. Jafaru is a great guy. Yeah, and these AstroTurfs are approved by FIFA. They are FIFA standardized AstroTurf. Robert Coleman, thank you very much for doing that. There's one with Baumia. Please show him as well.
And there's one with President Mahama too.
Yes.
In Queen's constituency.
Okay. I don't have President Mahama, so
Roland, quickly on Coleman. I think that he's a great guy, doing a lot. I have had extensive conversations with him.
Robert Coleman.
Yes, and I can say that Lai Kingston coming to my constituency, he played a role in it. I'm very hopeful that in my first term as Member of Parliament for Ketu North, we'll have our first AstroTurf. I've had extensive conversation with Coleman on it. Very soon he will be in Ketu North to inspect.
But you haven't won the election yet.
Yeah, but work has started. Winning the elections for me is a formality. Everyone knows that come 2024, the NDC will retain the Ketu North seat. What we are fighting for is the margin of victory. And our target is to get nothing less than 85% of the vote. So Coleman will be in Ketu North for us to see some possible places where we can locate an AstroTurf for the good people of Ketu North.
All right. So I guess that also puts matters into perspective for us. And Robert Coleman, good morning. Doing some great work. Great work. Okay. I also have in the studio Nana Kwame Asafweje. And he is Deputy Director for External Affairs of the NPP, as well as communicating for the government of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
All right. I saw the president warning his friends who want to be flag bearers to make sure they don't badmouth government. But I thought you're speaking what is truthful.
Which is?
Okay. All right. Since you don't want to comment on the subject, no problem.
No, I'm asking,
now, the former president, John Dramani Mahama, has been raising some key issues. So, for the first part, we will look at whether government has deliberately decided to do politics in making the decision whether to continue with the Saglemi project, but rather spend money on the National Cathedral project, which has even not taken off. As we know, it is the most expensive hole, we're told, in the world. I mean, literally, as it is. The second part will also take us to West Africa, where not only the Nigerian coup, but also the takeover in Burkina Faso, the instability in the sub-region, seem to be raising concerns among civil society, but also ordinary citizens. Well, as politicians as well as media, should we be worried about this? And what is accounting for this sort of worry? So we'll look at it in the second part of the show. My producer is telling me today we're going to open phone lines before we cash out. So let's look at the former president, John Dramani Mahama, on his page and what he did say. Now he says, it is unacceptable for the president to spend over 500 million cedis on a national cathedral project that has ultimately failed due to corruption and is now abandoned, yet refuses to commit funds to complete a housing project that will benefit thousands of Ghanaian families. He continues that knowing the NPP government, they did not want to complete the Saglemi housing project simply because it was initiated by John Mahama and an NDC administration. Now, leaders must always prioritize the well-being of their citizens and ensure that they benefit from government resources and projects regardless of who initiated them. Now, he says the misplaced priorities of a government that claims it is unable to raise money to complete the Saglemi project and yet is willing to spend 500 million cedis on the largest civil excavation in Africa is a humiliating slap in the face of Ghanaians who entrusted Nana Akufo-Addo with their mandate to be president. And then he continues. Now, Safoje, what do you make of this?
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning to my good brother and friend. I wished him well in his primaries. I knew in his primaries he would win. But in the main elections, K2 is up for take this time. So, it is good he's doing what he's doing. But of course, the tables will turn this time around. Now, let me greet the good people of Busumi Hutu, the MPP party, and then your followers. I heard about the Saglemi John Mahama post yesterday. I was on my way coming from Asio Jamai to help Honorable Pius and Hajide. We are more or less like brothers and friends. So I was wondering if indeed former President John Dramani Mahama actually wrote what you read. I was wondering. Because then it took me back to ask some few questions. Question number one, that in 2012, when President John Dramani Mahama was the caretaker president, this Saglemi project started. That was when the NDC made it their priority program or project and took a loan of $200 million. 2013, he won and became the full president who was fully in charge. The 200 million loan was supposed to do a housing unit of 5,000 for us. After they got the loan, and of course, when you are going to get a loan, going to the contractor and everything, you do all your visibilities, you do the drawing, there is a whole lot of documentation to that effect. And you took that money based on that project.
And approved by Parliament.
Approved by Parliament. Now, 5,000 project now draw down to almost 1,500 project. And a whopping 198 million of the 200 million has been used. Now, the next question you ask is that a priority project for you You spent 5 good years in government. You couldn't complete a single one. And after a certain time, you come to blame a government that do not even have it as a priority. So the question is that, but are you sure this man wrote what he wrote? And does he still have this memory? That's first. The next point. You see, government do not necessarily invest into project or undertake project or anything just for taking sake. Government invest into project for a viable and beneficial reason and purpose. So, Ahmed or the MPP comes to power. They review the Saglemi project. You took 200 million. You were supposed to do 500,000 units. You couldn't even do 1,005.
Okay.
Now, there are a whole lot of challenges with the project. They do.
The name is Saglemi.
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 Okay, forgive me. I'm told is a Dangbe word.
Yes.
So Saglemi. Now you took this money. You had this project. You couldn't do anything. Now government have to review the project. I'm told there was no sewage. I'm told there was no road.
Have you been there?
No, I've not been there.
Okay.
I haven't been there. I've seen the videos. I've seen the.
So you're speaking on second-hand information.
Oh, you give me that information.
Oh, I'm asking. Are you speaking? Are you speaking from second-hand information?
Okay, we'll take it as a primary source data.
All right.
Okay, so you have a whole lot of some of these amenities that were not factored as part of the project. Meanwhile, the loan, it wasn't a free money. It's a loan which government has contracted to do this affordable, quote and unquote, affordable housing. Now, the report, a few reports I have cited, is even saying that we'll spend extra 56 million just to even complete off-site, just to even do that. Now, when you look at
46 million.
46 million. Now, when you look at
64 for.
Thank you. When you look at all these things put together, the money spent, how much is the ordinary Ghanaian going to pay for the cost of a unit of room to even stay? Then the purpose of the affordability.
Is that why the president is unwilling to complete
So the purpose of the affordability.
Is that why the president is unwilling to complete it?
Mahama, the person who even brought the baby, the man who even birthed the project, was not even willing to complete it. John Dramani Mahama, who birthed the project, was not even willing to complete it.
I'm told that you are very well versed in construction because
I am not.
Because domestically you have undertaken some of your own. If you look at these projects,
yes,
how long or less do you think that it will take to complete these projects?
Let me tell you something.
Other than going to start another one, or prioritizing a national cathedral which has even not gotten off the ground, spent over 400 million.
I'll come to the national cathedral. It is another leg of the discussion. But you see, when you mistaken and take a project like this and you think it is completed, you are making a mistake. Look, with the chunk or the difficult part of construction, it's not laying the blocks. It's not laying the blocks and bringing out the structures. No. It is the finishing and the fittings. That is the most important thing and most expensive thing in the whole building construction. As for block laying, one block is about 50 cedis, 5 cedis or something. So in construction,
if you leave a project over time, then it means that for you to again rehabilitate that project and get it to get off the ground, you are going to spend more if you look at the quantities.
I don't know whether you are listening.
And that is true.
I don't know whether you are listening to the argument. I am telling you that.
So what really is your point? Why is it the government doesn't want to complete the project?
I am asking you, I'm telling you that a project that was birthed 2012 by the NDC, John Dramani Mahama himself, he spent 5 years, couldn't do it. Now comes back, blames somebody who don't even have that project as a priority project. You had it as a priority project. You flagged, you made every noise you had to make about that project. You don't even have it. Now you create a mess, quote and unquote, for somebody to inherit your mess, and now you turn back to blame the person for inheriting or trying to clean your mess. That is why I asked if indeed he wrote what he wrote. Now the National Cathedral. You see, for me, from day one, the NDC have poo-pooed the idea of the National Cathedral. So I am not surprised about John Dramani Mahama. But you see, before we even move to the National Cathedral, you see, the money we are talking about, the 198 million, is not a joke. So government himself has taken this matter up and it's in the court. We cannot just be in a rush to go and charge somebody or jail somebody when you cannot establish the real fact of the matter.
You're talking in relation to the Saglemi project.
Yes, the Saglemi project.
The problem
again I have.
What has an action against a former government official, for which that action was said to be untoward, was said to be untoward, not in the interest of the public good, got to do with a housing project that is left to rot.
Hold on, you see.
How do you sync the two?
The housing project.
You have a housing project on one hand.
No, you see.
A former government official is being accused not to have taken the right sort of decision while in office. But the project is being left to rot.
You see, you are not getting it. What do we use to do the project? It is the money we are charging the former government official for. The project, if the project could have been done, it would have been done during their time. It is the money involved. You take 200 million to construct a project of 5,000 units.
So let me get this. Are you saying that government is making a comprehensive decision not to continue with the completion of the project because the matter is in court?
No.
Or because of the amount that will be needed to complete the project? Which one?
See, government is looking at the purpose and the viability of the project and taking some critical and key decisions. That is one of the reasons why some investors or some private investors are coming on board.
What you see on the television is not viable.
It's not what?
It's not viable.
So who wants to stay there? The person who is putting this... Go
and complete it.
You want to stay there?
Go and complete it.
No, you see, the argument is that when I complete it and I ask you to pay $70,000 or $90,000 for that project...
Do you think you are being fair to the good people of Ghana?
Which people? So that question should have been asked to John Dramani Mahama. You put a housing project that at the end of the day, when we put cost to at the housing project, every Ghanaian or the ordinary Ghanaian is going to pay $70,000 or $90,000, and you call it affordable, and you think you are being good to the Ghanaian people. That question should go to former President John Dramani Mahama. He should be made to answer some of these questions. And you see, as usual, they don't respect the court. That is why this matter is in court. And you come to write.
Who doesn't respect the court?
John Dramani Mahama.
Why doesn't he respect the court? What has the project got to do with prosecuting a former officer?
I am asking you, why is the former officer in court? Is it not because of the project? We are looking for money to complete the project, or the project came in, it was approved by Parliament. A certain project, a certain agreement was approved by Parliament. You individual do not have any, authority or whatsoever. And I do not, sincerely, when I'm sitting here, I may not have evidence, but I do not believe that it was a decision by the sole minister. No, the president then, John Dramani Mahama, must be aware. He knows it. The minister cannot, change a whooping project of this amount on his own volition. Somebody somewhere, higher authority, might have given him some go ahead.
I see.
So for me, I do not see how and why you cause this mess for Ghanaians. You come back to blame Ghanaians or ask questions about this same program you caused. Look, he's talking about the National Cathedral digging a pit, or spending that money or hooping money to dig a pit.
Remember, it was a personal promise by the president.
Oh, hold on. I don't have a problem. That whether it's a personal, I don't have a problem. But the point is that let us also understand that National Cathedral has an economic, output to it on. The managers of that board has been bold enough. And when you are constructing an edifice of such nature, you do not do a 2x4 foundation. I don't know if Adam has done something like that for himself before, constructing a 2-story building and building a 5-inch foundation. I don't know. Maybe if you have a technical, so just some of these things, a former president of such nature should not lower the standard and be making some of these pedestrian statements. For me,
you call the comments pedestrian.
Please.
I will.
No problem. No problem. I'll come.
If you tell us that the president spent that money in digging a pit, is it not pedestrian?
Or 400 million.
No. Is it not pedestrian? Right. You know what goes
Roland,
have you been to the site before?
I have been.
Okay, good.
It's of public interest and of public knowledge.
Yes, Roland.
Now, you take a look at that.
Yes.
And then the concern and the comparison that has been made to the National Cathedral project by way of the priority of government to complete it. I mean, it just doesn't sink, doesn't it? Because we have a housing project that people could easily, after completion, go and occupy after purchase.
Roland, I want to commend His Excellency John Dramani Mahama for his comment on the National Cathedral vis-a-vis the Saglemi housing project issues. Roland, my constituency is Ketu North, and so almost every week, in fact, even just yesterday, I drove past the Saglemi project, and anytime I get close to Saglemi and I see the beautiful, very elegant edifice sitting and being wasted, my heart bleeds, because what is sitting there is taxpayers' money. Yes, it was a loan of $200 million taken by the NDC government to initiate the project, but eventually it will be paid by the good people of Ghana, you and I, our taxes. And so what is sitting there as an investment is the sweat of the ordinary Ghanaian. Now, in 2012, October 13th, when Parliament gave approval to the government of President Mahama to initiate this housing project, was because at the time, President Mahama, as a visionary leader, decided to go heavy on state housing, affordable housing, to reduce the housing deficit. As we speak, we have a housing deficit of over 2 million, which is highly, highly unacceptable. And so it is important to encourage projects like this. Now, when the project eventually started by the cutting of sword in November 2013, and what we have today, we have seen how the NDC government worked very, very hard on the project until we left power in 2016. Then, due to the pettiness, pure pettiness of the president, lack of vision, I have never seen a president so petty like President Akufo-Addo. Pure pettiness, that a project that was almost completed, what was left, and I will give you evidence from their own statement, what was left was just for the site to be connected to utilities. And at the time the NDC left office, we had about $20 million from that loan still sitting at the BOG belonging to the project.
We are told,
we are told. Now, when the NPP came into office, just because President Akufo-Addo is so petty, that because he did not want to complete the project for President Mahama to take the credit, he abandoned the project. Then the Works and Housing Minister, Asenso Boakye, Honorable, in 2021 told us that the ministry tasked surveyors, the Ghana Institute of Surveyors, to do a complete evaluation of the project.
You don't have anything for them.
No, but all these things that I'm saying can be backed. These are statements he made, some on the floor of Parliament.
Go ahead.
After they completed their assessment, Asenso Boakye announced that $32 million was needed to complete the project. $32 million. I want us to take note of the figures that I will be mentioning. In 2021, $32 million. Then later they came out with the whole story that from the defense minister, they claimed that they wanted to hand over the project to the military. If you recall, he even mentioned this in Parliament, that they will hand over the project to the military, so it becomes a housing unit for the military. I'm recalling this because I just want to lead to where we have gotten to. From 32 million, then the inconsistency, they moved to handing over the project to the military. Now here we are today. President Akufo-Addo is telling all of us that he wants to hand over the project to the private sector because we need $114 million.
In excess, yes.
In excess of $114 million. Now, who did the evaluation at the time? It was $32 million. How come all of a sudden $32 million that was needed to complete this project has now become $114 million? Has the president told you and I who did the evaluation? Because as for Asenso Boakye, He cited the Ghana Institute of Surveyors as the institution that did the evaluation and assessment to say that they needed $32 million. Because President Akufo-Addo wants to hand over the project to the private sector, he has all of a sudden, they are quoting $114 million. What? So to create the impression
but you know the Western Housing Minister, despite all the things that you say that because of the assessment that has been done and the excess of $100 million that will be needed to complete the project. It means
my big question is, Roland,
that will be additional
Roland,
funding.
my big question is, in 2021, the same minister told us that we needed only $32 million to complete the project. All of a sudden, from 2021 to 2023, 32 million has become 114. But let's accept or admit without admitting that we needed indeed $114 million to complete the project. Let's just grant it that way. Now, I have a number of questions to ask. First, when President Akufo-Addo, anytime President Akufo-Addo mentions privatization, we know what he means. Privatization to him is an avenue to loot and give out state properties to cronies. We haven't forgotten about ECG and the PDS scandal.
How did you come to that? Because of
PDS. You know what happened with PDS and how much money Ghana lost till today. Has anyone been prosecuted for the millions of dollars? Now, this criminal enterprise of NPP, anytime they mention privatization, that is what they mean. You abandoned this project when you needed only $32 million and you went putting $58 million into that wasteful project that you call a national cathedral that became an avenue for thieves in Kasok with double identities to be allocating projects and contracts to themselves. As we speak today, that project has collapsed. It is the biggest excavation exercise done. A hole has been dug. Judges' bungalows were demolished.
According to
companies were collapsed. You see,
the project
when I talk about, I'm a Christian. Let me tell you something. I'm a devout Christian. I always contribute to the building of churches or church buildings and all of that. I wouldn't mind. Let me tell you, when you go to POWI, Power of Worship International, is one of the churches that I attend. Not too long ago, I picked up a form ready to donate to the completion of their cathedral because I believe in that cause. But what President Akufo-Addo attempted doing in the name of National Cathedral is never for the cause of God. It was an avenue for them to lose because they wanted to use religion to cover up. Now, let me give you reasons why I think that it's a cover-up to steal. They told us that it was the personal promise from President Akufo-Addo. Was that not the case?
Well, that's the case.
They told us it was never going to be from state funding. Even pastors in this country, leading pastors told us that it will come from contributions from Christians and people who are willing to see the completion. Was that not what they told us? All of a sudden, we saw the huge allocations from state coffers that they made to that project. Now, you have a project, and as we speak today, almost every member of the board, the National Cathedral Board, has resigned, including the Attorney General himself. Godfrey Dami resigned. Many of the pastors have resigned because thieves are the ones supervising that project. Some of them are in Kasok, using double identity. And you sit here and you call President Mahama's comment pedestrian. Excuse me. We have to be serious as a country. You have a petty president who, for the lack of vision and foresight, decided to abandon this project. Then we have come to a point where because you are leaving office, you are leaving power very soon, you've decided to privatize it, allocate it to your cronies, and you have inflated the amount of money that we know them. Anytime MPP mentions privatization, it is cronyism. It is about stealing and looting and sharing to their cronies. We know them. Okay. And I'm telling you, what has the president done about PDS?
There's an important issue about a former minister. A former minister who, of course, we know...
He's standing trial. Okay, so great. I cannot go into the merits of what is before
court. So the justification is, if you look at the contract, 5,000 housing units were supposed to have been put up. By the time that the NDC had led office, we had only 1,500.
Roland, when you listen to the minister, like I said, I don't want to go in. That issue as to whether it was supposed to be 5,000 or it was supposed to be variation after it was supposed to be in an evolving fund where the 5,000 units will eventually come from sources that will be raised after the initial ones are sold and all of that. That is actually the substance of the issue in court. So I don't want to go into it. But what we are talking about is the lack of leadership, the pettiness of President Akufo-Addo, and the attempt to sell. And let me tell you something very, very interesting. Are you aware that in 2021 May, it came to light that the NPP government sent national security men or men supposed to be from the national security to provide security to the site. And by the time they left there, items, equipment, building materials worth $7 million were stolen from the site. 7 million in May 2021. Items worth $7 million were stolen from the site when they were supposed to be providing security. And so when I tell you that when these people are talking about privatization, they're only looking for an avenue to steal, you should know what I'm talking about. And that story has been captured by Ghana Web. The project consultant, one Mr. Kamesa Beza or something, if I get the name right, also spoke to this issue. When you go to the Chopoli police station, reports were made where citizen arrest was made of national security men or men supposed to be from the national security who came to the project site and stole over $7 million worth of items. And so when we speak about Saglemi,
well, we do know that
we speak
security
about
was provided as a result of that. Even some
what has happened to that case?
Some media persons were not allowed to film within that period.
So what happened to the 7 million worth of items and building materials that were stolen? So when it comes to the National Cathedral, let me conclude. The National Cathedral, look, I am very disappointed as we speak. You have men of God.
Yeah, you've made your point.
And
you're
Christians.
A Christian.
Yes, and we have men of God and Christians who are refusing to speak about the fact that President Akufo-Addo used God to provide a certain shield for his people to steal, for millions of dollars to be put into just a hole. What has happened to that project? And you tell us that it has an economic value. What economic value has that useless project got? Uselessness. I just can't understand why anyone at this material moment, looking at all the basic challenges that confront the good people of Ghana, will invest that amount of money into building a cathedral for God. Even God will not be pleased with you because God doesn't love wicked leaders.
Mr. Safweje, so what's the decision now? Will the project be completed or not?
Let me state this on record. Adam is my very good friend. I have no problem.
You guys are friends?
Yeah, we are friends.
We are very good friends.
I have no problem.
Just 2 minutes each, okay? Then we'll move on to...
My point is that...
Coups and...
I saw your posture, your interjections, your comments, everything when I was speaking.
I interjected you.
And I saw what you did with Adam.
I interjected.
It is clear. The viewers are also watching you.
Okay.
Now, point number one. I don't know why he's fired up. I don't know. Because, of course, if it's not pedestrian, you won't tell me that project there is a pit they have just dug.
Please.
Thank you.
Please, you have 3 minutes.
It's okay.
Then we'll move on to the next.
If you tell me that President Akufo-Addo has abandoned the Saglemi project because of that, he lacks vision. I mean, he's petty. Then I don't know whether we can have a petty squared or a petty raised to the power 10 for John Dramani Mahama. Then he's the most pettiest of all. Kufo started some housing projects in this country. The Pong Katamanso, the Pong Kachu, something. I don't know the name, forgive me.
The Botema.
The Kufodia project, the Sokorimampong project.
There's a Nyamidua project also at Pong.
It transcended mills, Mahama caretaker, Mahama president. You didn't say anything about that.
We'll talk about it.
Don't worry. So that project made Mahama very, very useless. So Mahama is visionless because these projects are evidence enough for every Ghanaian to see. Even those projects did not have the rot Saglemi is having. Even those projects is not having the kind of rot Saglemi is having. Even that, you didn't touch it. You didn't move a pin. So, I mean, the comparison is clear for everybody to see. Now, my point this morning is that even if I am a government, I come to office. Before my coming to office, my predecessor had told the whole country that we have a deficit of housing, like Adam is talking about. So I want to solve that deficit and give you an opportunity to have a very affordable house. So I come to Parliament present you a document of which I am going to take a loan of $200 million to construct 5,000 units, so that every Ghanaian, and look at where the Saglemi is and Accra. Look at the distance. I'm not even talking about the distance, that far distance, almost to Adan. You took that money. Parliament approved that money for you. Now, when you got the approval, even before you go to Parliament with all the approvals and things, you had all your drawings, everything worked out. You took the money and now spent 198 million only to give us a half-completed 1,500 project of the 5,000. You told us. What is this wickedness, this thievery? Chrono Yagani, thievery that Don Dramani Mahama perpetuated on the good people of Ghana.
So my question is...
you have a question. Hold on, let me finish.
What would be the decision on this?
The decision is clear.
You spoke about this the first time.
I'll come to the decision. Now, this person that has caused us so much death, the purpose of the affordable housing was not met. The money we cannot find. The housing we cannot go there. So it is a complete waste.
The housing is a complete waste?
No, the entire project you did for us.
The Saglemi house.
The construction you brought to Parliament, for which matter we approved it. You wasted our time. And you spent 5 years in government. You couldn't finish a thing that money was given to you as of 2012. You couldn't. You spent 5 years. Nana Akufo-Addo comes.
It's not even true.
It's true. 2013 and 2012.
You don't know the timeline. But I gave you.
Hold on.
Parliamentary approval. Let me educate you.
No.
I'm just educating you.
The project was initial.
I don't need your. I don't need your.
We went to Parliament in 2012. MOU was signed in January 2013. Soft cutting was done in November 2013. I mean, so I'm just providing.
But he went to Parliament in 2012. That's what he's trying to do.
Just to seek approval. That's not a commencement of the project. No, I'm education. I'm giving you the timelines. You don't know it.
Mr. Safwe, let's get this right. Okay.
Let me finish.
You cannot.
You do 5 years of money.
Please answer my question, Mr. Safwe. My question is: so what is the decision now on what you call a useless project and then a not completed project?
I have told you that the president has even proposed about 3-tier solution that we are looking at, which of them will be viable. Now, one of them which they have problem with is the privatization of the Saglemi project.
Okay.
They have problem with. And you see, I don't know why they become so uncomfortable. This is a pure documentation program which will come to the doorsteps of Parliament for you to go through and point at which of them you have problem with. But you see, if I am an ordinary Ghanaian and thinking about the well-being of Ghana, I would support the idea that when it goes to a private person, the private person can do all the things that have to be done, price it at a certain price, and then sell, which Ghanaians will not have a problem about. But if government decide to go into the affordable housing, go look extra money somewhere and put into the affordable housing. Now, even if it costs $90,000, government can't sell it at $90,000.
Have we found an investor yet?
I mean, that decision I don't have, but I know that they are working on it.
All right.
Government can't do that. That's a decision.
Private sector.
It is in the good interest of Ghanaians. For which matter, I don't know. I don't know whether Adam knows who they are going to give this project to. I don't know. But you see, the end
so private sector.
John Dramani Mahama should excuse Ghanaians for some time. Right. And don't let us feel that we are dumb and we don't know.
Adam,
you create a mess, you cause a problem, and you come back to blame somebody for not solving your mess and your problem. Okay. Who does that?
So the discussion and then the contention is where the priority should be in terms of the expenditure.
You see the Progressive housing.
Yes.
Government, this project is coming at no cost to the ordinary Ghanaian. Government is providing water, is providing electricity,
at a cost.
Land.
At a cost.
No, you see, but it's not a loan. Like you contracted a loan today, it is part of our loan.
That's at a cost.
So that is extremely better. And that is what, when the government says affordable.
How much?
When the government says
affordable. How much are we paying
for?
58 million.
When the government says affordable, that is what it means. Right. Not what you did in Saglemi. Okay. And coming back to blame Ghanaians, to blame the president for not solving your problem. When you had the opportunity to solve it.
Okay. How would you describe this decision to now go to that private venture route in 2 minutes?
Like I said, Roland, trust is very, very key in governance. I have absolutely no confidence that the Akufo-Addo government will privatize the Saglemi project in the interest of the people of Ghana, because their track record is that any time they attempt anything privatization, it is an avenue for them to allocate to their cronies, to their family and friends.
Whether you know who will be allocated.
And no, we know them, and we know the kind of. And I'm saying that we know them, and we know the kind of things they have engaged in. I have cited PDS. I don't know why he doesn't want to even talk about it, because they know what they did with PDS and how family members of the president were the beneficiaries till today. All the monies that we lost, not a single person has been prosecuted and all of that. I don't know why till today the $7 million worth of items, materials that were stolen from the site that issued their mute on it, and yet Collins Dowda is in court for supposed causing financial loss to the state. I mean, that is what you are late. And you see, so I think that what the government is supposed to do, what the government is supposed to do,
they are going the private sector route.
And I'm saying that that sector, that whatever option, that privatization or going to the private sector, it's simply, in basic language, is an avenue for them to allocate the project to themselves. Now, they have enough money, Roland, they have enough money to complete the project as a government and allocate the project. We have given you where they can get the rest of the money from. One, they took $58 million, and sank it in that useless project of Akufo-Addo Cathedral. I don't even think that it deserves to be called a national cathedral. With all the criminality surrounding that project, they don't even want to speak about it. So till today, with all the issues, with all the criminalities. No, but why? It hasn't been brought to light how you allocated monies to yourselves on that project. How even the person who designed the project at the time he started the design and you awarded him the contract, he didn't have the license to operate. Hasn't it come to light how a supposed man of God using double identities allocated projects to himself? It became an avenue for thievery. No, but he's lost all the court cases. Please spare us that. And so this project is just an avenue for you. And you see,
and for me,
and then on the BO, and even from BOG, you see the amount of money that they printed, over 80 billion at BOG.
What do you mean by the printed money?
Oh, but they printed money. Didn't you read the BOG report? Whereas we speak today, the Bank of Ghana has a negative. No, the loss is different.
The loss that was reported.
Reporting loss is different. We talk about printing money, and when you look at the BOG Act, the government is allowed to print only about 5%, maximum 5% of the previous year's total revenue. But looking at the amount that they printed, 2021, they printed 35 billion. 2022, they've printed 45 billion, a total of 80 billion. They printed that amount of money, which far exceeds the 5% threshold that the BOG Act allows them to. And so this whole government and how they operate, at best I can describe them as a criminal enterprise. And look, this Saglemi project, we should not, and I'll plead with Parliament, never to allow the NPP government to privatize that project, because it will just be an avenue for them to allocate the project to themselves. Now, let me ask you, you keep talking about projects started by Akufo, not completed and all of that. Even in your own government, in 2018, didn't Bawumia cut short for 10,000 housing units? Where's the project?
2019. That was reported in 2019.
Yes, and so where's the project? 2019, 10,000 housing units. Started by yourself. You cut the sword yourselves. Where's the project? Asafo, I'm asking you the question. Answer me. Where's the project? So you see, these are people who sit on national TV and claim some high ground of morality, talking about somebody started project not complete. Even your own project that you cut short for, not a single block has been laid.